Hey, Boston buddies. Hey, everyone. Little technical difficulties again. Sorry. We're about to get started here. Jeff's joining us. Had a little problem communicating with Zoom to Facebook, but I think it's all working out now. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
Good.
Great.
So did you do that, because of your advanced age, this being your birthday, or was that payback for us having a little tech glitch last week?
Right, I'm losing it. I don't know how to work the computer anymore.
No worries.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
You came up with a solution. Good job.
We figured it out. But hey, everybody, another installment of Brunch with Boston Buddies today. Today we have the president of Marathon Tours, Jeff Adams, is joining us. You've actually been a member of Boston Buddies for a while now, actually, haven't you?
Quite a while. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and Jeff was he actually has helped us out tremendously over the past couple of weeks. Obviously, with all the issues with Boston being rescheduled and stuff. Jeff was the tour operator that got us the original hotel, and now he's been able to secure us a new hotel. And actually, I don't know how you did it, but you were able to get a cheaper rate than what they were before. Or it's
looking out for you.
Yeah, everybody else was paying double. But thank you, I appreciate that. So yeah, I just wanted. How about, do you want to introduce yourself and maybe give a little background about?
Yeah, as you and I know from at least traveling on one race together and being out on the Boston course a few times,
Yep.
A runner who found his way to a career where I get to travel and run. Not a bad gig.
Right.
But I've been with Marathon Tours for the last 4 years as president. Tom Gilligan, who many of you know, originally started with the Boston Athletic Club, has ran Boston at least 23 times that I can think of. Started our company 40 plus years ago. He and I became friends when I first traveled with him in 2011, and then joined him as partner 4 years ago as his new president. We've been having a great time doing what he has done well for now over 40 years and doing some new things as well. So new trips, exploring some new ways to keep you all entertained and take care of you when you're booking Boston hotel rooms or traveling to the other majors or the other continents.
Yeah.
So it's, like I said, not a bad thing to be able to call work.
That's right. There's two jobs that I want. And the first would have been Bart Yasso's job as mayor of running, chief running officer over at Runner's World. That would have been a great job. And then the next one I think would be your job at Marathon Tours.
I would definitely endorse you for the job and recommend it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you used to work prior to this life. You were you worked at Morgan Stanley, right, as a financial planner, but then you were also obviously a runner and a triathlete.
Yeah, I worked at Morgan Stanley for 28 years. So if you think about it, 4 years at Marathon Tours and 28 with Morgan Stanley, I've been blessed to be able to have a job for now over 30 years that had one primary focus, and that was helping people accomplish their goals.
Mm-hmm.
And for Marathon Tours, it's their adventure travel and healthy lifestyle and running goals, and the people that travel with us and support us on those trips. And for Marathon and for Morgan Stanley, it was 28 years of saving to put my kids to college, or that vacation home, or retirement planning, or a trip, with Marathon Tours. So right. It's been very rewarding, and it's nice to have that parallel with the two careers, if you will, of client facing, getting the inspiration from seeing them accomplish what they set out to do, and in some small way being a part of it. And right. So very fortunate to have the connection between both those careers.
Right. And you were talking, you had started running, I guess, what year did you say you had started running before?
I think I lived on all coasts, as well as north and south, moving every 4 or 5 years my entire life. So as a younger person, as a kid, started out in Portland, Oregon, and then I was in Northern California, and then I was in Eugene, Oregon, and I happened to be in Eugene, Oregon at exactly, the right time. If you're a runner, I was there in the early to mid 70s. So I got to experience 2 Olympic trials, track and field trials, 72 and 76. I got to watch Prefontaine every Friday night. And then Saturday, they would open up Hayward Field for their all-comers meets, and you'd have 5-year-olds to 85-year-olds out there running. So running was something that I was introduced to at a very early age. But with each of those moves that I mentioned, you ended up in a different place, and it had different activities to offer. So in Northern California, it was water skiing and snow skiing. In Texas, it was water skiing every weekend, every month, all year long.
Right.
And cycling, some nice long cycle rides there. Where I'm at now in Wisconsin, as home base, but I work in Boston. I get to do a lot of rock and ice climbing here, which is my other real passion beyond running. So it's been a nice way to sample the country and sample a lot of activities. But the running at the marathon level, I came back to that in 2010. Is when I got back to it. So a long detour, experiencing some other things from the early 70s in Eugene, but it was nice to get back to running and be reminded of how great the community of runners and just the challenges.
Did you get to run with Pre when he was out there?
He was out there on the Outclimbers meets. I was actually there for his last meet, and unfortunately staying with a buddy about 5 houses up from where he had his car wreck. But yeah, that town just lives and breathes track and field. And during that area, that era, it was all about Prefontaine and the matchups he was having with those other elite runners of the day.
Right. Yeah. There's a documentary about his life. It's either on Netflix.
Yeah, a couple good movies about it.
Yeah. Interesting. And then so 2010, you did Chicago, right? Or was
I got tricked into Chicago. I was actually training I was carrying 50 pounds of water softener up any hill or stairs I could find. I was training for Mount Rainier, climbing with my daughter and her future husband and brother-in-law, and that was in July, early August. So when October came and Chicago, which my wife was training for, just spur of the moment, I decided to go out there and support her by actually being on the course. And so I'd look for anybody. If I saw you along the side, I was more than happy to stop and talk to you for 5 minutes because I was in carry things up a hill mode, not, the other marathon distance direction.
Right.
I got around the course and I enjoyed the challenge so much that the next year I was curious what would happen if I actually trained for one. And the next year was important to me emotionally in that with Morgan Stanley, I had a career that took me to New York on 2 different occasions. And the first time I was in the World Trade Center. And so for 2011, that was the 10th anniversary of 9/11. I wanted to do something to honor all of the first responders and my buddies that didn't make it. And I also wanted to celebrate those that did. We were the largest tenant, thanks to a terrific security team and relentless preparation. We had some of the fewest losses. It was mainly the security team and a few other friends. So I wanted to recognize that. And so I picked 2 races. I ran one in Medoc in September. This is one where you dress up, you stop at 22 different chateaus, and it's a celebration. I picked that one because one of my mentors was not in the building on the day of the attack. He was running that race. So that was a great way to celebrate all those that had survived. And then I ran New York a couple of months later, and that was for all the first responders. And still up there with Boston is one of my other favorite races, obviously for some more personal reasons.
Medoc, does Marathon Tours offer that as one of your races?
Oh, that is a that's an anchor on the calendar. That's always one of the best reviewed and most enjoyed. Tom has created really a wonderful progression through Bordeaux, and it's very educational, and 3 or 4 chateaus each day and parties at night, and then you go out and run, and the run goes into a party. If you haven't experienced that, It's one of the more enjoyable and festive races that you could ever do. It's really interesting though, there's a 6.5 hour time limit like many races, but on this race, you'll have typically about 80% of the field will finish between 6 hours and 15 minutes and 6 hours and 30 minutes. Because they want to maximize all the stops, because they're not serving water at those 22 chateaus, they're serving wine. And then they'll start sobering you up around mile 20 with some oysters and then some beef and cheese and ice creams. So they've got it down. They throw a good party. It's a little bit, visualize Mardi Gras combined with a marathon combined with a costume party and a wine weekend. That's what you have in that tour all together.
Right. And my family is not a bunch of runners. Like, I'm the only one that runs in my family.
They would love that trip then.
That's the one marathon that they keep saying they all want to go do. They're like, when you're doing that, I'm coming with you.
Well, obviously, I was hooked after that one. That was my first trip, and I met a lot of terrific clients, and they gave me good advice just getting back into the sport that has served me really well. So that's one that everybody should experience. Just to go have a celebration run.
Right. Well, you were talking earlier. You had said, you kind of like the challenge when you were training you would run Chicago, and you like the challenge. Have you ever had such a challenging time in your life with what has gone on the past couple of months with having so many races canceled or postponed?
Yeah, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, I've had a number of situations like this. So starting with market corrections and crashes in the late 80s, 9/11, 2008. So my career, as a result of that, and the leadership and mentors, honing that contingency planning, advising you on your wealth management decisions globally, meant that I needed to fully understand all the possible outcomes and then assign the probabilities. So this is, I hate to admit it, but it's these challenging times where you feel like you're really having an opportunity to perform. And thankfully, we're getting that feedback from our clients. They see it. They see how hard we're working to prepare for the possibility of a race canceling or being postponed. They see how hard we're working to secure them the options they need to be able to sleep at night, whether that be a refund or a deferral or a postponement. And they see how quickly we're working to quickly get those postponed trips negotiated and planned and deliver those hopefully at the same price as what they were paying. These are those times that it's kind of like running a marathon. There's certain times in the course of that run where you got to dig in, and you got to if you're feeling a little off that day, you got to fight through it. And this is from a professional standpoint, this is one of those periods. So now the team is thriving. Luckily, because we're hosting trips all around the world anyway, we know how to work remotely. We actually have the luxury right now of most of us being within a time zone or two of each other. As opposed to me being on a midnight call to talk to somebody that's halfway around the world.
Right.
So this has been good.
You're
and
going to have a busy fall.
Support has been very, very helpful.
Yeah, fall's going to be crazy for you. You've got 5 majors plus Paris plus whatever else has gotten rescheduled or postponed and rescheduled in the fall.
8 canceled to date, starting with Tokyo 2 months ago, I think it was. 6 postponed and rescheduled, and then we're obviously doing all the contingency planning going out for the next couple of months. So again, we've got the answers our clients are going to want from us and the options to take care of them. And so you've got all 3 of those. And meanwhile, most of our trips, we're always a year to 2 years out with our negotiations of hotels and the other pieces of the packages. So we're still doing that too.
Right.
So we've probably done a half a year's worth of work in the last 2 months, if I had to conservatively estimate how much we've done.
I believe it. Well, I certainly appreciate what you did for us and like getting us, decent, like even a better rate and making sure that, we were a priority and you got us all squared away.
Well, yeah, I mean, we had, the rescheduling of Boston's terrific. This is going to be a once in a lifetime opportunity. How excited for runners to be able to run that race in September to, celebrate, hopefully being on the other side of what's, this is the equivalent of a global tsunami with what's going on health-wise.
Yeah.
With the economic impact, with the social impact. This is like a series of tsunamis coming ashore, and to have something on the calendar like Boston in September, or London in October, or whatever race you're adjusting to, that's going to be a great way to celebrate. But it reminds me, I think it was Berlin last year. 2 years ago, I remember coming around the corner. It was 5K, 10K, and you had a double lane road, water stations on both sides, and it just flowed perfectly. And then this year, this most recent year in Berlin, you came around that same corner, same water station, but half of the road was closed. So all of a sudden you went from this nice double wide into a bottleneck. And that's a little bit what I think some of the runners experienced last week as we were working to get hotel rooms reestablished for the fall. We went from 3 wide down to 1 wide. So the ability, to take care of you and folks on the team was very important to us, as is all the individual runners. And so we're going to stay focused on continuing to secure more rooms.
Okay.
And more rooms. And we're going to, think of it as, water stops. That was 5K, 10K into the race. And there's going to be another one at, 15 and 20 and 25K. We're going to keep working it. So for those that are looking for that Boston experience in September and hotel rooms, just keep checking back. We're not taking our foot off of that focus at all. We're going to keep it on that as well as the other focuses. And keep me posted if you need more for the group. We'll obviously work hard to deliver on that front too.
Sure. Yeah. Just because somebody can't get a room today doesn't mean it's not going to happen, because there's cancellations and other things that rooms will come up over the next 6 months.
Boston's popular in the fall, New England, Boston especially, and so the corporate conferences, large trade shows, weddings, and you don't know what's going to free up in terms of reduced demand or some of those meetings moving. So we've got a great relationship with these hotels. In Boston, we're typically 2 years out. And so we've got a right of first refusal with the desired hotels that everybody's looking for. And they'll call us first if they get any kind of give back from any of these scheduled events.
Okay. Yeah, Lynn Moore is watching. Lynn Moore is one of our members. She wants to know, when will hotel reservations open up for 2021?
We were talking about that with the team this morning on our weekly morning call. And if you look at the fall calendar, if this fall calendar plays out the way we hope, and we are all scrambling around the world for the scheduled events and the rescheduled events, it's not going to be in the fall because nobody's going to be in the office to be able to do it. Right. So we've got a couple windows planned on the earlier side as opposed to later. So we'll update everybody, but we're looking at June as a possibility, possibly late May, but no later than mid-July. There's just a window there where we can be in the office to take care of all of your needs. We can separate a little bit from the September rescheduled event, so we don't create confusion there,
right?
And take care of everybody's needs. But those contracts were already negotiated well in advance, so that's already ready to go. It's just when's the right window,
right,
to avoid confusion and avoid the congestion of what we hopefully are going to be experiencing this fall.
Right. Now, on some happier topics, you've got this 7-continent club, right? Where all 7 or people are trying to run all 7 continents. One of those is that Antarctic marathon. Can you tell a little bit about, like, if I were to do that, how do I get there? How do I even get to the marathon? Planes, trains, and automobiles.
It's the scale of everything is indescribable. You just have to go experience it. And what I mean by that is the camaraderie, which is very important to us on all the trips, is a camaraderie of traveling with other like-minded runners and travelers. For me at work, I had some friends that ran, and we'd go run before a morning meeting. They didn't necessarily travel. I had friends that traveled, but they didn't run. What I found with Marathon Tours is a group of people that traveled and ran. And so that's what you have in Antarctica, and that's the first thing that will be different than any other race, because you're with them for 10 days on a ship, getting to the race, experiencing that and everything else, and then coming back. And by the way, you're off the grid. So you actually have to have conversations like you and I are having right now. So camaraderie is off the charts. And then you get down there and the scale of everything is off the charts and the animal interaction. But kind of chronologically, to answer your question, you're a 2 to 3 year wait to get to your turn. So the advice is always, if that's even on your possible wish list, get the application in. It's a $300 deposit. We'll refund it if you change your mind, or we'll move it to another trip if you change your priorities. So it's no risk, but get in the queue. So your turn comes up, and we'll have typically 200 people from about 20 different countries. So we all come into Buenos Aires together, gives us a chance to get to know each other, do a few training runs, experience that part of the world. And then we fly together down to Ushuaia, which is the southernmost city in the world, and we get on our ship. And we have a day and a half to 2 days from Ushuaia to the Antarctic Peninsula. We'll go ashore, the race team will go ashore, and we'll meet with the base commanders, we'll scout the course, and we'll lay out the course while you all are getting rid of your sea legs and experiencing your first landings. And then we'll do a briefing that night. Next morning, we go ashore like Navy SEALs is how I describe it. So you're up, it's before the sun, you're having breakfast, you're getting all geared up, and then you're loading into Zodiacs and going ashore. That's just to get to the start line. So think about that, 3 years, Navy SEALs, start line. And then you run the race, and it's unlike anything you've ever seen before. And then the celebration. Fortunately, the last 2 years, race day has lined up perfectly with St. Patrick's Day. Okay. So the post-race party is always guaranteed to be good. It was exceptional these last 2 years.
That's great.
Yeah, and now you still have 6 more days. So it's not unusual the next morning after accomplishing that unbelievable running accomplishment, you're out kayaking with whales the next morning.
Oh, wow.
Or you're hiking up through a penguin rookery to stretch your legs, to get up to the top of a peak. So it's you can watch the videos that we have up on Antarctica Marathon website. You can read the comments, but until you experience it, you just can't fully understand it, because the scale of everything is just off the charts.
Right. What's the temperature usually? What's the average temperature?
It's fortunate. For Midwest or Boston or Philly, it's like a good winter run. We're at the tail end of summer, so we'll typically see something in the upper 20s, low 30s. But over the course of the run, you're going to see all 4 seasons. You're going to experience sunshine and maybe a little protection from the wind. So you're going to think it's summer, and you're going to be peeling a layer. And then you're going to have sideways snow and sleet when you're down along the Chinese base, for example. And you're going to know you accomplished something between the course and the weather. But it's end of summer down there, and it's good for the race conditions, but it's also good in that that's when you have peak whale activity. The whales are all congregating, getting ready to migrate. The penguins have had their young, and they've completely gone through the molting process, so they're hitting the water. The leopard seal, which is the predator there, they know the penguins are going to be in the water, so they're cruising offshore, and you have that mayhem, and then you got the orcas and killer whales thrown in. So it's animal mayhem at its best because of the time of year we're down there.
That sounds great. Now, what's the terrain like? Is it a paved road, or is it dirt, or is it a trail? Like what do you run on?
Yeah, no, it's not a paved road. It's the paths. It's the paths connecting 4 bases. If we have to lay out the whole course, but we don't know what the terrain's going to be like each year. We've had years where we couldn't go out to the Uruguayan base because the 4-wheelers would get stuck. Well, if the 4-wheelers getting stuck, guess what's going to happen to a runner?
Right.
And we can't monitor and take care of them. So it's the roads connecting the bases. It can be heavily rutted, frozen mud that requires some careful footing. It can be at the base of a glacier where some of the runoff is accumulating, so you're going through ankle-deep water and sucking a shoe off occasionally.
Yeah.
Where you're down along the water and you're having to dodge the seals and the penguins, and you're running on, kind of a river stone, bigger than gravel. So
Okay.
the terrain is a challenge, the hills are a challenge, the weather's a challenge, but you've got 100 of your best friends high-fiving you when you pass them 8 times, because it's, these series out and back. So I'm back to the camaraderie again.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Which most of us don't like loop courses. People come back from this race and they go, that was a blast.
Awesome. That's right. I have to talk to my wife. It is my birthday. I'll have to see if that's what she can get me.
If she does not want to run, the spouses that are and the friends that are there to help, I think they maybe have more fun than runners, because we get them out on the course. They're handing out the medals, they're doing the timing. I've got them on the ATV, or other team members do, taking them out to the turnarounds. So they feel like they're really part of the event because they are, and they feel like they're really part of the success of the event because they are.
Right.
So it's great having those supporters on the trip too. And again, we're for 5 other days we're out kayaking and hiking and zodiacing.
It's definitely a bucket list item. It sounds great. Yeah. Now, how about what's the one you do in Africa?
We do a number of them in Africa. Cape Town is one that, a lot of the folks that are pursuing majors will typically seek out. Cape Town in Africa, Rio in South America, Sydney, similar experiences. Got a lot of people signing up for Singapore in December, one that's being considered for addition to the majors. And then we've got the other, end of the spectrum of our clients. And this end of the spectrum seems to be getting younger. And that's the ones that are wanting something much more adventurous. And so with that, you would have Madagascar, you would have Amazing Maasai, which supports education for young girls in Kenya with the Maasai tribe. So they like that cause too. Big Five. In South America, Patagonia, where you're out rock climbing the morning after the race. Outback in Australia, Bhutan in Asia. So we're seeing a definite trend with the younger runners, where they're pursuing their profession, not rushing into marriage, not hurrying up to buy the house and the things. And I think we'll probably see more of that coming out of what we're dealing with right now, people regrounding more rounded experiences. But the younger ones have been pursuing those activities where they're doing the run. It's much more adventurous. They're out rock climbing the next day, kayaking with whales the next day, as opposed to the cultural food and wine, history, architecture type focuses.
Right.
That's great. There's something for everybody. We've got 40 different trips on the calendar with, with good diversification on all 7 continents. So 7 continents, back to, you started to touch on that. When Tom created the Antarctica Marathon in '95, he and a few of the other runners realized, hey, wait a minute, I can run a marathon on all 7 continents right now. So same time he created 7 Continents Club, and we've got approaching 8,000 members globally now, over 80 countries. Many of them are enjoying the benefits of early sign-up privileges with some of the races that sell out quickly. Half of them are pursuing 7 continents right now, half are pursuing the majors, and then they're realizing, wait a minute, I just ran on 3 continents, and they go pursue the other 4 continents. We got a whole bunch of crossover. And then thankfully, after 40 years, we got a lot of people that have done both, and they come to us at the Boston Expo, and they look at us and say, hey, what's next?
Right.
So we started a program a couple of years ago called Runners Country Club for those runners, and that's where you all get to vote on new locations you want us to go to. And it's amazing how many people you have. Throw it on the calendar first time, I'm there. You have that same group that's going to sign up every time for that first time experience.
What's the new one this year?
White Nights, St. Petersburg, Russia, Singapore with a pre-trip to Bali. We thought it was important to get over there and acclimate. So why not do our training runs along the water in Bali? So we'll do that one. That's a new one. We had, last year we had Loch Ness, which people are really enjoying. That is an extension to Berlin. It's another, you can use that as an extension or a pre-trip now to Prague that was just rescheduled last week. Okay. So we're 3-4 years into it now. Madagascar was 1 year, Jerusalem, Patagonia. And they're all, it's amazing what happens when you listen to your clients, when you let them vote and you go out and check out the race yourself and you come back saying that was a good experience. The clients join you, and then their feedback just, propels the next couple of years. So they've all been strong additions to the calendar because the client said, if you do it, we're going to be there.
Yeah. We had a few members to the Loch Ness Marathon this year with you guys. They said it was great.
Yeah, it was a fun one. The problem with Loch Ness, that one surprised me when we were scouting that one, is I don't know what I was expecting. It's my heritage, and so I was really looking forward to it for that reason. But I didn't realize that there was going to be more to do than we had time to do. So that trip, our negative feedback last year was people said, you need to extend the trip because there was too much to do. We had 2 days of touring, and we had 3 jam-packed agendas for them to pick from. And at night, over dinner or over drinks, they were hearing how great the active one was. Well, I didn't sign up for the active one. Can't you add another day so we can do that? So that's a nice problem to have. People really enjoy it. That's a beautiful race. It's kind of like Big Sur for those that have run Big Sur. It's it's the Big Sur of Europe is what it gets compared to a lot.
Nice. Yeah, I did the that Great Wall Marathon. I would highly recommend that to anybody. I had a great time there because it wasn't just the marathon, but you guys planned. I think we did the 7-day tour where you guys had planned tours every day for us. I think we went to see like Tiananmen Square and the Palace, and we went to the Olympic Village. Like you guys did something for us every day, so it was just a great vacation. But obviously, then you get to run the marathon. You run on the wall. I really liked how you brought us there a couple days ahead of time, and we were able to take pictures on the wall and enjoy it without having to take pictures while we were running and stopping during the run. You guys did a great job there. Although it was
I'm a little surprised you say you enjoyed that though. Wasn't it 107 degrees when you and I got back up on the wall and didn't that? I think it was mile 23 to 24. So we went through Yin Yang Square.
Yep.
We had to head back up that goat path. And then we were, hand over foot climbing up these vertical steps. I thought my watch had died. I thought I hadn't charged it enough because I kept waiting for my wrist to vibrate.
Right.
And I thought, but I couldn't look down because you couldn't take your hand off where that next foot in the hand was going.
I think we were pretty close. We were neck and neck. I think I was 53 minutes for 1 mile going back up the wall.
Finally my wrist vibrated 15 minutes later, and I looked down. I go, wait a minute, 15 minutes to go 1 mile.
Right. But I wouldn't trade it in for anything because my oldest daughter, came with me on that trip. She was 17, I think, at the time, and she was a swimmer. She wasn't a runner or anything like that. She had signed up to do the 8K, but she came 2 days before where we were we were taking the pictures on the wall. She switched her race to the half marathon. You guys let people switch, so she switched. It was her first half marathon ever. Was that Great Wall Marathon that year, and she finished. She got it done. She did the whole thing. So that's something for her to say. Her first one was in China on the wall.
Yeah, that's some serious bragging rights there. But and I think I left you. Yeah, that was the year I left you at the end of the trip. I think I had to take off a day early and go over and scout Bhutan because people had voted on Bhutan, which ended up being just an amazing experience. So the opportunity to run a race up in the Himalayas and spend 3 days trekking up at 12,000 feet in the clouds, to acclimate was a good addition. And we actually have a number of people now running what we're calling the Dragon Challenge, where they're running Great Wall and Bhutan back to back.
Oh wow! It's like the Boston to Big Sur called the Dragon.
Yeah.
Great Wall and Bhutan.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see. So if you look at the postponed and the ones that are on the calendar for this fall, if it all happens, I'm waiting to see which client runs the 5 consecutive weeks. So September 27th, Berlin. Then you got Loch Ness and London following that the following week, and then you can go to Vienna, Prague, and then Prague can lead you right into Paris, Cape Town, or Chianti, and then that can lead you into Dublin. We will have a client that will do that, and I'm waiting to see who it is. I've got a couple bets.
So you're doing Dublin this year, marathon tours?
Yeah, Dublin's always, that's another one that clients like because it's always right at the end of October. So
Yeah.
the thought of touring the Guinness plant and Halloween and nice race, that one gets good reviews too.
Yeah, I did that last fall, and that was the best. That was a great time. The people in Dublin are just so friendly. There was a lot of Boston buddies over there, so we met up with them, and we were out every night just having a great time. We did the Guinness factory, Jameson, we did all the tours and stuff like that were over there, which is great.
Well, if those were some of your highlights, then I need to host you in Loch Ness because we've got a couple distilleries where you can only find the whiskey there. So it's important to bring a couple bottles back. Nice. We did a whiskey tasting and music welcome party the first night there with two of the best musicians in the Highlands and 5 drams of whiskey. Everybody seemed to like that quite a bit.
Nice. All right. I'm in.
So if you need that kind of carbo loading, that's a good trip for you too.
Yeah. Lou Nisal, he's one of our members. He just commented. He signed up for Dublin with you guys right now.
That's awesome.
His 100th marathon.
So he can do a warm up in Paris the week before now.
Paris. I've done Paris too, actually. I thought Paris was probably the prettiest race I've ever done, as far as the course, where you run, and what you see. You start out at the Arc de Triomphe and you run towards the Louvre, and then it's just.
And this city is just amazing. I tell you, the one I had a run last fall. It was four marathons in 5 weeks on 3 continents. So it was Patagonia and then Cape Town. It was cheaper for me to fly to Cape Town for the weekend and run the race than it was to fly back to Wisconsin for the weekend from Boston. So I went to Cape Town.
Okay.
And then had a weekend off, and then it was Berlin and Loch Ness. But Cape Town, if you ask me what's the comparison to Boston in terms of quality of runners, the runner IQ out on the course, it's Cape Town. The runner IQ of the South Africans and that race, in terms of just a really good running experience and an experience in terms of the people around you running, that one impressed me right up there with Boston in terms of runner IQ.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I remember when we did Great Wall, there was a lot of people from South Africa that were running that one, as well as New Zealand. It seemed like those 2 countries were pretty well represented at that marathon.
Yeah. We tend to see them well represented down in Antarctica. We had a big Kiwi group down in Patagonia this last year too.
Yeah. Now, do you guys do Athens as well?
Yeah. That's another strong one. It's with the Runners Country Club that I mentioned. We started that 3 years ago because we had so many clients that were just saying, "What's next?" So with starting that vote, it's kind of like going out in your backyard and pruning your tree. With these new events, it also allowed us to prune some of the events that were no longer of interest, or no longer did we really add as much value. They didn't sell out, so you didn't need that. It was easy to book the hotels. It was easy to book the airfare. So that's part of that shift that we're seeing in terms of more extreme events, especially for the younger clients, and some of these back-to-back challenges as well. But you got some anchors in there: Dublin, Athens, Loch Ness. I think is going to be a good anchor of the non-majors in Europe.
Right. And then we were chatting a little bit about the connection with the Back on Your Feet organization. Too.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to get people know about that organization and your connection to it?
Yeah, both marathon tours, and then many of us personally are very focused on giving back, and that's just the way I was raised. So personally, Back on My Feet is a cause I've been very involved with on the national board for starting my 10th year. And Back on My Feet, for those of you that are not familiar with it, is an organization that works with homeless shelters to establish running groups. And the simple concept is helping people change the way they see themselves by becoming part of a community, by accomplishing something that maybe they didn't think they could accomplish, or getting them back to something that they previously enjoyed, much like my case. I got away from running and I got back to it, and it's opened up all kinds of amazing doors. Unfortunately, as Vince, you and I were talking, too many of the people experiencing homelessness are also veterans.
Yep.
And so we have a lot of veterans that we support within the group as well. But it's amazing how something just as simple as getting up 3 times a week at 5:30, if that's when your city's club gets up, and running changes how people see themselves. And not my words, their words. If I can get up at 5:30 3 times a week and go for a run and maintain that commitment, I can get up and get a job. And so, that simple act of one foot in front of the other and the camaraderie of running together as a group and that accountability has led to, on average, a 55% success rate where those people went from homelessness, unemployment, to employed, self-sufficient. There's a whole bunch else that works into it. I just encourage you, if you're interested in that type of a cause, whether it's getting out and running with the folks in the morning, or supporting it, or getting involved at a leadership level, go to the website, Back on My Feet, and it will give you much more insight into the other steps that running will open the door to.
Yep. Financial
literacy, grants, whatever it takes to get you back on your feet and employable and self-sustaining. But incredibly rewarding. I especially like running with the groups anymore. It's no different than going out on one of our trips and hosting it. Is you run in a race and finishing in Antarctica is amazing. But helping 100 other people finish that race and getting to hear their stories and getting to live vicariously through what they just accomplished, that's truly inspiring. And I get that when I go run with the folks in the Back on My Feet program. You don't know who the suit is. You don't know who the student is that's volunteering. And you don't know who the homeless. We're just runners.
Right.
Right. And we're out there doing something good.
We're all just trying to
love the organization. And we do a lot to support them with some of their fundraising around the world as well. London, Boston, et cetera.
Yeah, they have a pretty big contingent here, actually, in the Broad Street Run. Which is usually
Yes.
10-mile run. That's usually one of the bigger charities is Back on My Feet. They always have a group of runners that trained with Back on My Feet that run the race every year. It's really great to see. It's just amazing.
And I think Dave mentioned this last week when you were talking to Dave. When you have a market health social disruption like this tsunami, there's a couple things for us to be thinking about. One of them is the charities. They're suffering right now. And so if you are running Boston in September and you qualified, still throw out a fundraiser potentially. People are going to support that. I ran Boston in 14 specifically to support Back on My Feet, knowing that 13, had been such a disruption, not just for the race, but for all of the people that benefit from the race. So that's a good call to action on that one. And, on that same point, when we have just a shock to our industry, to our economy, to our livelihoods like we have right now, the other thing that I just want to pass on is be careful. We're seeing already a couple of runners reaching out to us that have been scammed recently because they're booking with a tour operator that was not an official tour operator. So if you're running Boston, go to the Boston website and make sure that tour operator is a Boston authorized tour operator, just like we're their official travel partner for hotels. Folks, don't be reaching right now because there's some people out there that are going to take advantage of this situation.
Right.
And there's also, some people out there that have been pop-up businesses that arrived in the last couple of years that just don't have the depth and breadth of clients and the trips like we've been talking about. And their survival is going to be very challenged, I think. We're looking at this as let's work harder than we've ever worked. Let's take care of our clients better than we've ever taken care of them, in terms of information, transparency, options. And when this settles down, you all will be back and you're going to bring your friends. This will typically be a growth phase for a company like ours after we get on the other side of it. It's just going to quit some of those pop-ups. It's kind of like a tsunami coming ashore. Think of those huts on the beach. They get washed away.
Yeah.
We're going to see that. We're going to see some folks jumping in, trying to take advantage of folks with some of these races or scarcity of hotels in Boston, which is why we're going to stay committed to finding those hotel rooms for everybody.
Good advice. Yeah. I think there was something else that you mentioned right before this call, which I thought was pretty impressive. You were talking about how you always like to give back, and you mentioned some of the medals that I had up there, and you had said
Oh,
you usually
yeah.
like to at the end of a race or whatever, you usually like to find a policeman or a fire or somebody, a volunteer, or somebody, and you give your medal away. I think that's such a great idea. I especially this time, like give it. Let's see if maybe we can start something. We can mail our medals to a healthcare worker or something like that.
I think that's fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got that idea actually from South African. I met her in Antarctica. She's a doctor, and so she's helped on a couple of our trips as a host. And it was Boston 3 years ago. It was her first time to run Boston. And she crossed the finish line. And before she went to get any refreshment or blanket or anything, she spotted 3 SWAT officers. They were actually on the other side of the fence. And so she started going towards them and climbing over the fence. And I saw one of them kind of, get a little more alert. And I called out to him. I said, don't worry, she's got a gift for you. And she climbed the fence to get out of the secure area, which, I don't recommend, and
Right.
went over and put her medal around his neck. He in turn took his SWAT, Velcro SWAT patch off his and pinned it on her race shirt. And then they hugged and that was it. And, and then you just watch for the next 5 minutes as these guys that have been out there taking care of us all day and protecting us, are just immersed in looking at this medal. And he gets to go home and take that to, his kids and present it to his kids. So I took a lesson from her and started finding an officer or first responder, medical staff that had taken time away from their family and their kids to be with us. So I'm always trying to find somebody that's got kids, and then I ask them to take it home and present it to their kids. And you can just hear the buzz as you're walking off and heading back to your room, or going to grab that pint to celebrate. It's now the problem is I don't know how many races I've done because I've given away all but a few of the special medals. But it's I think your idea would be fantastic to be able to do that in September with healthcare workers. Would be fantastic to do with Boston.
I love that idea. I love it. I think that's such a great idea. I think it speaks to kind of your organization and just how you treat your customers and just people in general. I think you guys do a great job. I appreciate what you guys do. Any other things you want to mention to the group while we have their attention?
No, just this is one of my favorite groups. You do a terrific job in terms of moderating. It's a positive group. It's very inclusive. It's one of the ones I enjoy. Keeping a pulse on how runners are thinking about things. Yeah. And I think if they're not aware, not only have you taken time to do this and all the other broadcasts, but today you're doing it on your birthday. So I feel honored to be able to spend some time with you anytime. But on your birthday, wow.
Thanks.
I feel definitely honored.
Right. They don't really mean anything unless you age up into a different age bracket. So,
which I did this year. So I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah. Great.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. This fall is going to either, it's going to be a brutal challenge, but I'm going to love it.
Thanks.
Think about all these races.
All right. Well, we certainly appreciate all the work that you guys did for us. And I'm looking forward to our Boston Buddy Hotel and causing a lot of commotion for you in September. Good. As well. And appreciate you taking the time of your day, and let's definitely stay involved in the page, and we definitely will be here to support you guys. Okay.
Hey Vince, I appreciate it. Happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you.
Be well.
Bye-bye.